Hello and welcome to Better Together.
I'm Kimberly.
And I am Tony, and we want to bring value to your relationships, and we think we've got a good episode for you today. This is part 3 of a series entitled Bridging the Gap, Enhancing Communication, because communication is something that is incredibly important in every relationship, especially the marital relationship. So what happens when we have poor communication in relationship?
There's distance.
Yeah.
Poor communication equals distance.
So when you say distance, what do you mean?
A distance as in relationally distant.
So you don't feel close when there's a lack of communication. That's
Right.
interesting. Very often, guys, so you heard, the more communication, the closer she feels. And our tendency is when there's conflict, that's not the case. We have less communication, so we actually preserve through a lack of communication the distance that the woman is trying to traverse. Because we want to feel close. We want to have, I don't know any other way to say this, we want to have warm fuzzies in our relationship, and communication is key to that. Yeah. So effective communication strategies for conflict resolution. That's what we want to talk to you about. What are some common triggers for conflict in relationships?
Number one, straight out of the gate, money.
Money.
I would say money is probably, especially in...
We've had some humdingers, okay? So money.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, what's another one?
How about friends? What if I don't like your friends? Or not even what if I don't like your friends, but what if your friends are taking the place of me?
Yeah, so there can be jealousy. There can be vindictiveness, or maybe you feel like your friend has a spouse that's giving them bad advice or taking advantage of them. So yeah, friends can be huge sources of conflict. What about kids?
I think kids can be especially in the context of a blended type family scenario.
Yeah, when we are not in full agreement concerning our roles in dealing with the kids, our values for what we want to instill in those kids, it can get very contentious very, very quickly.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like even in the area of how to discipline them, like if one feels you should discipline this way and the other feels strongly in another way, that would be chaos for the kids.
Unity to every one of these areas is absolute key. Unity is established through effective communication. When there's failed communication, there's failed expectations. When failed expectations occur, there's disappointment, and that often leads to conflict. We're also the area of work. Work can be huge triggers for conflict in relationship.
Yeah, especially I would say in the context of a dual income family.
Yeah, if both of you are working, you're bringing home, what you experienced at work can be very unhealthy. Different values, and not just different values, maybe different values with a different priority structure. We may have the same value concerning disciplining our kids, but the priority of that may be a little different. She may say, I prioritize the relationship aspect over the discipline aspect, and I may be the complete antithesis of that.
Well, and I would say another example of differing values could be maybe how you clean your home. Like if you are this person that has to have it absolutely immaculate, and then there's that person that is, hey, good enough to move on.
Yeah, but they're not a slob. It's just there's different priority levels to
different
go.
Values.
Yeah, it's like an onion. So that's kind of what relationship is. Our relationship is like an onion with so many different levels. Communication is absolutely necessary. So how do you, when there is conflict, when things break down, when one of these areas or something different, maybe I don't know what your mountain is. What mountain is it? In fact, that'd be a good discussion. If you're with your spouse, ask, what is that thing? And you probably know already that we keep going around and around. You need to come to a resolve and an agreement. You need to deal with that Goliath, so to speak. So let's talk about techniques for calm and constructive communication during disagreement. How about this one? How do I know when I'm going down a wrong path communication-wise in conflict? What are some flags?
You mean flags as far as my reaction to that, or
just when we're having a conversation and we're trying to deal with an issue? How do I know when we're not having effective communication?
I would say when I'm not communicating, not talking, shutting down.
Yeah, shutting down would be an indicator. How about raised, elevated voice tones? We hear cone heads, or elevated voice tones. When we start yelling at each other, you understand that something is going awry. So what do we do to calm? One, we keep our voices calm. A calm voice is an indicator of a calm or in control person or emotion. When we begin to behave erratically or out of control, or we begin to say things to hurt instead of to heal and to compromise and reach a compromise, and you know that moment when the issue is no longer the issue and the things that you're saying aren't to prove a point or to get a resolution, but it's to inflict pain. Those are things that we have to recognize, and there comes a time when we just have to say time out, stop. We've got elevated voice tones. This is not working. Let's take a knee here and call a time out.
Right. And that would be, I guess, the next point that you were wanting to talk about, which would be the importance of timing.
Yeah, timing can sometimes bad communication can be a result of addressing the right issue at the wrong time or in the wrong environment. Let me just give you a huge one. Right before you go to sleep is not the time to bring up an argument or to bring up a huge issue to try to resolve.
You will be up all night.
Yeah,
pondering, thinking, and not getting good quality sleep.
Yes, you'll be riding the seams, as we call it. But maybe it's a good idea to say, look, we're not going to discuss controversial topics and try to reach conclusions after 6 o'clock at night.
Right. That would be good.
Yeah, or
that's a good technique.
Once I've taken my sleeping pill, because I'm not going to sleep, you're not going to listen to you effectively. But you don't want to address those things when you're tired, right after work. You come home from work and you've just been waiting all day to unload or deal with this issue, and your husband or your wife comes in from work and there you are when they are absolutely laden.
Yeah, really.
So having the right timing and recognizing the right atmosphere, again, and just as important is recognizing the wrong timing or the bad atmosphere. Now, good communication gives each other love, gives each other the respect and the ability to say, you know what, now is not a good time. But we need to talk about that for just a moment. If you're going to press pause or hit time out on a conflict, during a communicational conflict or conflict that you're trying to communicate your way through, if you're going to press pause, it needs to be in agreement on a timing. Yeah. Very often, otherwise that can become stonewalling and manipulation. And you don't want to do that. If you don't have clear expectations, if you say, hey, look, let's put this on hold.
Right.
Let's wait. And we don't understand that, let's revisit this in an hour.
I was going to say, is that like wait 3 days?
Yeah. Exactly.
Wait 2 days?
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about this, so I'm going to put this off as long as possible. It doesn't get better with time, we know that. But at the same time, we want to make sure that in that middle of an emotional moment, or when I'm not feeling well, or when I'm feeling attacked, or whatever, is not the best time.
So maybe it's like whatever agreed upon amount of time is, like a few hours.
Yeah, and maybe because if you're thinking minutes and they're thinking days, there's going to be a problem. So when you press pause, agree on a time to come back and work your way through it. Yeah, and during that time, this is important, check your focus. See, your feelings often follow your focus, and when you're focusing on the wrong thing, something that's going to happen is your feelings are going to go the wrong way if your focus is the wrong way. And it's so easy in communication for us to get sidetracked and rabbit trails, on certain things. And I think it's important to note that when you are having a disagreement, in the heat of that conflict, to always offer two things: unconditional love and unconditional respect. That is incredibly important, and that is at the point of conflict. If you will do that, if I will give her love and she will give me love, which means what? It means that we prefer each other. It means that there's still that civil discourse, because this is my sister in Christ and my wife, and I know that her intentions towards me are good, and she knows that my intentions towards her are good. Even if we're having a conflict over here, it doesn't mean the whole relationship is bad.
Right.
Yeah. We may have an issue that we're dealing with, but that doesn't define us. Incredibly, incredibly important. So what are some strategies for finding common ground and compromise in the heat of that conversation or in the heat of conflict?
So I would say two very important things are the ways of deferring and adapting.
Deferring and adapting. Talk to me about what to adapt means when you say adapt.
So adapt means to come alongside.
Okay.
Come alongside you. Like I would come alongside you.
All right. So
Like I don't have to have my way.
okay. So what she's saying, and what I believe that you're saying, is that we don't always have to get our way. Now that'll
Surprise.
that'll take you a long ways in conflict resolution, especially in the context of marriage. I think it's probably good every time that we behave selflessly. Now here's the danger: one person always does that, and the other one doesn't. Anytime that she adapts, it encourages me to defer. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. The Bible says, wives, adapt yourselves to your husbands, and husbands, love your wives and give yourself for them. So that's adapting and deferring. When she adapts, it encourages me to defer, and it becomes a beautiful dance in communication. And it's not good for me to always get my way. Again, it's not good for her to always get her way. It's like our children. Sometimes you need to tell your children no. It helps build character. But I just imagine us not insisting on our own way in every single conversation. Think about how much peace that brings to the home.
Right. Well, and I would say, and this idea of adapting isn't necessarily archaic
Right.
or ancient. It's really kind of a good thing to do.
It's healthy.
Yeah, it's not destructive. And
Doesn't it seem that adapting and deferring is the natural outflow of true love?
yes,
Love is patient, and love is kind, and love is gentle. And I hear people all the
doesn't
time,
seek its own way.
it doesn't demand or seek its own way. You know, so many times I work with couples, and I'll ask, do you love him or do you love her? And they'll say, yes, we love each other. And then I'll go, well, what's the problem? Well, I'm not getting my way here, or they're not this, or they're not that. And they're actually void all of the aspects of what I refer to as functional love. Love is patient. Conflict happens when we're not. Love is kind. Well, guess what? Conflict happens when we're rude.
Right.
You know, love does not demand its own way. Yeah, so those conflicts are incredibly important. So do you have a parting piece of advice for ladies, for wives, when it comes to effectively communicating to their husbands?
Be willing to be open with your communication and don't give up.
Don't give up. Tenacity. And, you know, guys, sometimes they need that open invitation. And sometimes we can be very difficult because we do have a tendency to close. Don't close. When we open up and we give that invitation for communication, even if we're not used to it, we practice it and we don't give up. You know, we decided, and this was one of the most important things I think in our marriage, something that's kind of helped us navigate many years, is we have said we never want to cohabitate. We never want to just live together, or we never want our relationship to become a business partnership. And sometimes that is the result of not navigating conflict, not dealing with these little foxes that come in and destroy you, these little differences that really don't mean a whole lot when it's all said and done. We are what really matters. I can't tell you how many times we've said, listen, we are more important than this thing that we're facing. And your relationship is more important than that thing that you're facing.
Yes.
Communication is important because, as always, we are better together. Hey, listen, thank you so much for watching. If just like, subscribe, share this if you've got any value, help us get the word out. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.